Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're here to take complex info, break it down, and pull out the key insights, really just to help you get informed without feeling overwhelmed. Today, we're jumping into the latest official update on immigrant visa availability. We're talking about the August 2025 Visa Bulletin. Our goal is to sort of navigate this world of priority dates, final action dates, filing dates, help you understand what it all actually means for the different categories and countries.
Yeah, it's always a fascinating snapshot, isn't it? Shows global movement demand. It gives crucial insights into how these visas get allocated based on, well, very specific rules and limits. We'll really focus today on the precise dates and the country specifics, so you know exactly where things stand for this August 2025 bulletin.
Okay, good. So before we dive into all those dates, let's maybe unpack some key terms first. You hear final action dates and dates for filing applications a lot. What do those actually mean for someone applying?
Right. Essentially, the final action date is kind of the green light. It's the date when the visa numbers are actually authorized for issuance. Think of it as, your turn finally comes up for the final processing. The dates for filing applications, though, that's different. That tells you when you can submit all your required documents to the National Visa Center. It lets you get the paperwork ready, basically, even if your final action date isn't current just yet. And it's really important to remember the USCIS website, Citizenship and Immigration Services, they actually determine which chart gets used for adjustment of status applications each month. So you have to check that too.
Okay, that makes sense. And then priority dates. How do they fit into this picture?
Priority dates. That's basically your place in line. It's set by when your petition was first filed. Visas are generally handed out in chronological order using these dates. Now, if demand, say for a specific category or country, shoots past the supply of visas, then that category or country becomes oversubscribed. And when that happens, the final action date has to adjust. It moves to the priority date of the first person who couldn't get a visa within the numerical limits. That's why you see these dates sometimes move forward, but sometimes they even move backward, which is called retrogression.
Speaking of those limits, what are the overall caps? Like for the whole fiscal year 2025, what kind of numbers are we dealing with globally?
Okay, so for fiscal year 2025, the family-sponsored preference limit is 226,000. That's worldwide. For employment-based preference immigrants, it's at least 140,000. And there's also a really important per-country limit. That's capped at 7% of the total, which works out to 25,620 visas for any single country. And dependent areas have an even smaller slice, just 2%, or 7,320 visas.
All right, 7%. And where are those limits really biting right now? Which countries are feeling the biggest impact?
Well, currently these prorating provisions, which basically stretch out the numbers when things get tight, they heavily apply to applicants born in mainland China, India, Mexico, and the Philippines. These are the areas where demand just significantly outstrips the supply under those caps, leading to, well, some very long waits.
Okay, well, let's get into those specifics then. Starting with family-sponsored preferences, you've got F1, F2A, F2B, F3, F4, each with its own allocation, right? Like 23,400 for F1.
Exactly. F1 is unmarried sons and daughters of U.S. citizens, 23,400 visas allocated, and F4, brothers and sisters of adult U.S. citizens, get 65,000.
So what do the final action dates look like for August 2025 across these family categories?
Well, what's really striking is just how much they vary. Let's take F1, unmarried sons and daughters of U.S. citizens. For most countries, the date is July 15th, 2016. But Mexico stands out dramatically. Their date is April 22, 2005.
Wow, 2005. That's a nearly an 11-year difference compared to most other places.
Yes. Exactly. And the Philippines is also much earlier, July 15th, 2012. It just starkly highlights the huge demand and the backlog for applicants from those specific countries.
There really is substantial. What about F2A? That's spouses and children of permanent residents. Is it a similar picture there?
Not quite as dramatic, but still, you see differences. For F2A, most areas, including China, India, and the Philippines, show a final action date of September 1st, 2022. Mexico, however, is again earlier, February 1st, 2022. And it's really important to note here, for August, some F2A numbers are exempt from that per-country limit. They're authorized for issuance to applicants from all countries if their priority date is earlier than February 1st, 2022. And specifically for Mexico, all the F2A numbers they get are exempt from the per-country limit. That helps a bit.
Okay. And F2B, that's unmarried sons and daughters, 21 or older, of permanent residents.
For F2B, most areas are looking at October 15th, 2016. India, though, is way back at January 1st, 2007.
2007. Wow.
Yeah. And the Philippines is at April 15th, 2012. So again, you see certain countries just facing much, much longer waits. If we look quickly at F3, Married sons and daughters of U.S. citizens, most areas are at August 1st, 2011. But Mexico, February 1st, 2001, a full decade earlier.
A decade.
And the Philippines is December 1st, 2003. And then finally, F4, brothers and sisters of adult U.S. citizens. Most places sit January 1st, 2008. India slightly earlier, November 1st, 2006. Mexico is remarkably far back, March 15, 2001.
2001 again.
And the Philippines, January 1st, 2006. What these dates just clearly demonstrate is the sheer volume, the number of applications from these specific countries that have piled up over years, sometimes decades.
Given those final action dates, which tell us when a visa can be issued,
Yeah.
how do the dates for filing applications compare? Do they give people an earlier chance to get started?
Yes, often they do. And that's really a key strategic point for applicants. For F1, the filing date for most areas is September 1, 2017. Compare that to the final action date of July 2016. So you get about a year's head start on paperwork. For Mexico, the filing date is June 1, 2006, and for the Philippines, April 22, 2015. So yeah, while your visa might not be ready, you can get your documents submitted much earlier.
That's interesting. For F2A, the dates for filing are April 1, 2025. That's across all areas, including China, India, Mexico, Philippines. That seems really recent compared to their final action dates, right? What's the significance there?
That's a really critical observation. Having such a recent F2A date for filing April 1, 2025 is basically a tactical window. It means you can submit your documents to the National Visa Center right now, get your case prepped, ready to go, even if your final action date isn't current yet. Taking that proactive step can really shave off processing time once your priority date does become current. You're positioned to be right at the front when numbers free up. It's a key difference that can speed things up overall.
Okay, that's really crucial advice for people listening. And what about F2B for filing?
For F2B, the filing date for most is January 1, 2017. But Mexico is April 8, 2008, and the Philippines is October 1st, 2013. For F3, most areas are July 22, 2012 for filing, Mexico, June 15, 2001, Philippines, December 1st, 2004, and F4 filing dates, January 1, 2009 for most, India, December 1st, 2006, Mexico, way back at April 30, 2001, and the Philippines, January 4th, 2008. You see the pattern, right? Those earlier filing dates, especially for the really oversubscribed countries, offer that vital chance to get ahead on the paperwork.
All right, let's switch gears now to employment-based preferences. We have EB1, priority workers, down to EB5, employment creation, each gets its own percentage too. What's the August 2025 bulletin showing for final action dates here?
Okay, for August 2025, first preference, EB1 is mostly current. That's for most areas, including Mexico and the Philippines. Current means visas are pretty much available without a significant wait. However, for China, the EB1 date is November 15th, 2022. And for India, it's February 15th, 2022. So even for these, priority workers, high-skilled individuals, specific country demand creates a queue.
And second preference, EB2. This often covers people with advanced degrees, exceptional ability.
Right. For most areas, EB2 is at September 1, 2023. China's date is December 15, 2020. But India is considerably earlier, January 1, 2013.
13. Wow, that's a really deep backlog for India and EB2.
It really is a very long wait.
How about third preference, EB3?
Yeah.
That's skilled workers, professionals, other workers.
EB3 for most areas is April 1st, 2023. China is December 1st, 2020. India is May 22, 2013. And within ED3, there's the other workers subcategory. For most, that's July 8, 2021. China is May 1, 2017. And India, again, much earlier, May 22, 2013. So yeah, the trend continues. Significant backlogs for China and especially India across these employment categories.
I'm noticing that fourth preference, EB4, and also certain religious workers, they're listed as unavailable across the board for final action dates.
Yeah.
What does unavailable actually mean here?
That's correct. Unavailable means exactly that for August 2025, no visa numbers are authorized to be issued in those categories at all. For applicants, unfortunately, it means processing for those final visas has basically stopped for the month. That's a significant hurdle if you're right at the end of the process.
Okay. And the fifth preference, EB5, the investment visa, including its reserved categories for rural, high unemployment infrastructure projects. What's happening there?
Right, EB5. The unreserved category is current for most areas, Mexico and the Philippines, so good news there. However, China's date is December 8th, 2015, and India's is November 15th, 2019, showing those typical backlogs again. But the really good news is in the reserved EB5 categories, rural, high unemployment infrastructure, those are all current across all regions.
All current. That's positive.
Yes, it's a very positive sign for investors specifically targeting those types of projects, likely incentivizing investment in those areas.
Let's quickly touch on the dates for filing for employment-based.
Yeah.
Do these offer similar early filing chances what we saw in the family categories?
Generally, yes, they follow a similar pattern. EB1 is current for filing for most areas. China's filing date is January 1, 2023, and India's is April 15, 2022. For EB2, most areas can file based on November 15, 2023. China's filing date is January 4, 2021, and India's is February 1, 2013. EB3 filing, May 1, 2023 for most. China, December 22, 2020. India, June 8, 2013. And for other workers, the filing date is July 22, 2021 for most. China, January 1, 2018. India, June 8, 2013.
Okay.
EB4 and certain religious workers show a February 1, 2021 date for filing across all areas, even though the final action is unavailable. And for EB5 unreserved, filing is current for most. Mexico, Philippines. China's filing date is October 1, 2016, and India's is April 1, 2022. And again, all the reserved EB5 categories remain current for filing everywhere.
Okay, now this is where it gets really interesting. There have been some important shifts and adjustments lately impacting certain categories. They tell us a bit more about the dynamics behind these numbers. What are the key updates standing out?
Indeed. This is where you see the system adjusting in real time. One really significant update is the retrogression, the moving backward of the EB2 final action date for rest of world countries. So not just China or India. This slowdown became necessary because the category is just rapidly approaching its annual limit for fiscal year 2025.
So demand surged even for rest of world.
Exactly. After being relatively open, demand jumped, forcing the date backward to manage the remaining numbers. It's actually highly likely the annual limit will be hit sometime in August, which could make the category unavailable very soon. It just highlights that constant tension between demand and the legal limits.
And what about EB3 and that other workers category? Are they feeling similar pressure?
Absolutely. Visa demand is still exceptionally high in EB3 and other workers. Their totals are also getting dangerously close to their FY 2025 annual limits. The Bulletin itself explicitly anticipates that it might be necessary to either retrogress their final action dates or just make these categories unavailable altogether in September, maybe even sooner.
So another warning sign for applicants there.
Definitely. A clear signal for applicants in those preferences to brace for potential delays or even a temporary halt.
But amidst all this potential retrogression, there is some good news in EB5 for certain countries, isn't there? We saw some forward movement.
Yes, that's right. It's kind of a positive anomaly. For EB5 unreserved for China, the final action date actually advanced in August. This came after it had retrogressed back in April. The reason, basically, the number usage they expected didn't quite happen earlier in the year, so this is a strategic move to use up those available numbers.
Okay, making sure no visas go unused.
Precisely. And similarly, for EB5 unreserved for India, the final action date also advanced. This is because India is expected to have unused family-sponsored preference numbers. Those unused family numbers can sometimes cross over and be used in employment-based categories, including EB5 unreserved for India. So both advancements are really about maximizing the use of every available visa number before the fiscal year ends on September 30th.
And you mentioned some legislative impacts affecting the overall numbers too, just briefly.
Yes, two key laws, the Nicaraguan and Central American Relief Act, NICARA, and the National Defense Authorization Act for fiscal year 2024, the NDAA. They have specific downstream effects. For example, the annual limit for the Employment Third Preference Other Worker, or EW, category for FY 2025 will be cut by about 150 visas because of NICARA. And importantly, the Diversity Visa Program, DV 2025, its annual limit got reduced. It went from the usual 55,000 down to approximately 52,000, also because of these acts. So fewer lottery visas overall this year.
Okay, let's turn to that diversity immigrant, or DV, category then. It offers chances for people from countries with historically low immigration rates. How is it operating for August 2025, especially with those slightly reduced numbers?
Right, the DV program. It aims to allocate up to 55,000 visas each fiscal year, but as we just said, it's down to about 52,000 for DV 2025 because of those laws. The visas get divided among 6 geographic regions, and no single country can get more than 7% of the total DV visas. For August, they've established cutoff numbers. These basically determine who is eligible to be scheduled for an interview this month.
So what are those cutoff numbers for August, region by region?
Okay, for August. In Africa, the general cutoff rank number is 50,000. But there are exceptions for specific countries. Algeria is 49,950, Egypt is 43,250, and Morocco is 40,500. For Asia, the cutoff is 11,000. Iran and Nepal are slightly lower at 10,650. Europe's cutoff is 22,000, Russia is 21,950, and Uzbekistan is 13,000. North America, which is just the Bahamas for DV, is current. Oceania is at 1,700, and South America and the Caribbean is at 2,600. These are the rank numbers being called now. It's a critical point for these applicants.
Now, how do these compare to the September 2025 cutoffs? That's the very last month of the fiscal year.
Right, for September, the final month, the cutoffs generally move forward quite a bit to try and use every last available number. Africa goes up to 58,500, Algeria moves to 54,500, Egypt to 52,000, but Morocco actually stays at 40,500. Oceania moves to 14,500, though Iran stays at 11,000, and Nepal goes to 14,450. Europe advances to 23,000, Russia edges up to 22,950, Uzbekistan to 15,000. Oceania moves slightly to 1,775, and South America Caribbean to 2,825.
So with the fiscal year ending September 30th, what's the bottom line for these DV 2025 applicants?
This is the really crucial point for DV folks. Your entitlement to a DV visa lasts only until the end of the fiscal year, September 30, 2025. That's a hard deadline. DV 2025 visas absolutely cannot be issued after that date, period. And even with the September cutoff numbers announced, getting a visa by the deadline isn't guaranteed. Numbers could, theoretically, run out sooner if there's a big last-minute rush in processing at consulates.
So the clock is really ticking for DV winner.
It absolutely is. They need to be moving as quickly as possible if their number has been called.
Yeah. We've certainly navigated a huge amount of detail today. Precise dates, specific countries, all these different categories within the August 2025 Visa Bulletin. What really stands out to me is just how dynamic these numbers are. They're constantly shifting based on demand, complex rules, even those legislative tweaks. It's anything but static.
Absolutely. This deep dive really just underscores that staying informed, with the most accurate up-to-the-minute data isn't just helpful. It's essential if you're going through this process. And those stark differences in priority dates we saw between categories, between countries right next door to each other, they just highlight the incredibly nuanced and, let's be honest, often challenging landscape of global immigration. Every single one of those dates represents a real person's life and journey.
So thinking about all this, what does it mean for you, the listener? As you reflect on these specific dates, these variations, how does this whole dynamic system of limits and shifting dates impact people and families worldwide? How does it shape their futures? And maybe what are the broader implications? Are we seeing permanent shifts in global demand, or are these just temporary fluctuations driven by current events or policies? Something to think about.
Yeah, it's a really compelling reminder, isn't it? Behind every date, every category, every number, there's a human story. There's a journey. There's a future hanging in the balance. Understanding these shifts isn't just about data analysis. It's really about grasping the immense human impact these immigration policies have.
Well, we hope this deep dive has given you a clearer, more informed perspective on what is definitely an intricate and vital topic. Until next time, keep digging for knowledge.